The bacteria in your gut weighs around 6 pounds, which is equal to just over 2.5 kilos, which is equal to around 2.5 bags of these jumbo oats. That is a huge amount of bacteria, and for good reason. The bacteria in your gut is essential for the function of your gut, which is therefore essential for so many different systems within your body. And a poor gut has been associated to worse health and more disease, and it's the reason why the gut has been coined the foundation of your health. And so in this video, I'm going to show you how the gut can affect different systems in your body, including your brain, your immune system, and obviously your digestion. But most importantly, how you can enhance it by things to avoid and things to add into your diet and your lifestyle. Let's begin. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven, for those of you that don't know me, and I'm very excited about this topic because the gut microbiome has become an increasingly popular topic in recent years, and for good reason, because it's so essential for our health and it affects so many different systems. So the systems that it particularly affects is firstly, obviously, the digestive system, and the reason why is because the microbes, the bacteria in your gut, are very essential, critical for the absorption of the nutrients from your food as it comes in. It's also involved with producing the enzymes, and the microbes lie in the gut and are involved in the process of deciding what gets absorbed into your body and what's going to get excreted. It's also central for your brain health, and it's actually been coined or referred to as a second brain. And the reason why is because many of the different neurotransmitters that are central for brain function are produced in your gut. So ones such as GABA and serotonin and dopamine. And interestingly, serotonin, around 90%, over 90% of serotonin is actually produced in the gut itself. So if you have a bad gut, that's going to lead to issues within the brain. One of the biggest ones, particularly because of these neurotransmitters, is mental health, so depression and anxiety. It's also essential for your immune system, and it contributes to preventing autoimmune conditions, which we've seen associations with. Being exposed to bacteria, particularly as children, very young children, is also very important for developing our immune system. It helps to reduce inflammation, and one of the reasons is because of that lining, because it's involved with deciding what gets absorbed and what gets excreted. If that lining breaks down, then we start to absorb things that we shouldn't be absorbing, and that can increase inflammation within the body. This leads to what we call leaky gut syndrome, which can then contribute to autoimmune conditions. And it's also involved with weight management. Interestingly, they did a study where they took the gut bacteria from an obese mouse and swapped it with a skinny mouse. And what they found over time is that the obese mouse became skinny and the skinny mouse became obese. And so what this shows us is how much of a role our gut bacteria plays in our weight management. And so if you're struggling to lose weight, then you may want to look at trying to enhance your gut bacteria, and that's what I'm going to go through right now. So I'm going to go through three main points or categories and how you can enhance it. The first one is not to be too clean. Obviously, we want to be clean to avoid bad bacteria that lead to disease, and we don't want to smell, etc. However, being too clean and sanitized is actually going to lead to a decreased amount of good bacteria in our bodies and in our gut. So going outside, playing in the dirt, particularly as kids, particularly the first few years, which are critical for forming the bacteria in your gut. And there's been associations that those that live in a microbe-rich environment and a higher diversity of the bacteria in their gut. And one of the things that we know about the health of our gut is that the more diverse the microbes in your gut, the better. It's not necessarily just about the amount of bacteria you have in your gut altogether, but the diversity of that. This is also one of the reasons why natural birth and breastfeeding are really healthy and have been associated with better health outcomes for the child. And one of the reasons is going to be because it increases the bacteria, the good bacteria that the baby is exposed to early on in life. Now, the second point or the second category is foods that we should try to avoid. And number one on the list is probably not too surprising. It's going to be sugar. Now, I know that we're always told to avoid sugar, and there's many different reasons for that, but one of them is what it's going to do is promote the bad bacteria in our gut. So in the same way that sugar in our mouth is going to promote the type of bacteria that will start to make holes in our teeth cavities, similar type of thing happens in our gut, but instead of making holes, it can produce or encourage inflammation within our body. It also disrupts the lining of the gut, which can lead to leaky gut syndrome, and it can dysregulate your metabolism, which then can lead to weight gain. Artificial sweeteners is something you also want to avoid, and there is a limited amount of research on this, but the research is starting to suggest that it starts to reduce the good bacteria in your gut, and there has been studies showing how those that take a lot of artificial sweeteners will start to actually gain weight instead of lose weight. So my suggestion is just to stay away from it until we start to get some good research to actually suggest it's healthy. But I don't think that's really ever going to be the case. Ultra processed food is going to be high on the list as well. One of the big aims and goals of ultra processed food is to extend the shelf life. And the way you do that is reducing the possibility of bacteria growing on that food. And so you're going to try to create this type of sterile environment within the food. And there have been studies showing an association between diets high in ultra processed food and a reduction in the good bacteria in your gut. Now, the next thing is fairly obvious: antibiotics. Antibacteria is whole thing is designed to reduce bacteria in your body. And of course, if you're in a life-threatening situation, then you should take antibiotics. However, you've got to be aware that you're also going to kill the good bacteria in your body. So where possible, try to avoid it unless you really need it. And the last one is going to be alcohol. One of the main ingredients in hand sanitizers is alcohol, and that's because of its effectiveness in reducing or killing bacteria. Now, the thing is, if we take alcohol ourselves, that's also going to have an effect on our gut, and it's been shown that it can reduce bacteria in our gut. So try not to overdo it on the alcohol, because unfortunately it's going to have an effect on your gut. And even things like red wine, which have some health properties like the polyphenols, the resveratrol that's involved in it, the alcohol side of it is not going to be quite ideal. Now, just before I go through the foods that we should include in our diet, if you're not yet a subscriber to this channel, please kind of invite you to do so. It helps me more than you can imagine to produce better content for you, but also if you enjoy this type of content, then you can see more of it. Now, the number one thing that we want to do is increase the diversity of microbes in our gut. And so the best way we can do that is getting a diverse amount of vegetables and plants into our diet. Now, there's two reasons why plants is going to be so beneficial. The first reason is because it's natural, it's got its own bacteria. So when you take it in, you're actually going to add to the bacteria in your gut, which is healthy. The other thing is it's high in fiber. It's estimated that the majority of us in the West don't get enough fiber in our diet. And there's many good reasons to have fiber, but one of them is it actually helps to promote and encourage good bacteria in our gut. It's really, really healthy for our gut. Now, another food that's high in bacteria is fermented food. So this is foods such as sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, live yogurt, kefir. These are all products that are becoming increasingly popular in recent years, and that's because of their increasingly known health benefits. These are really good because of they're fermented, so they've actually been cultivated to increase the good bacteria, which then you can ingest. And linked with the first one is fiber. And so, as I mentioned, plants is going to be one of the best sources of fiber, and getting a variety of plants, but you can get fiber from other sources such as nuts, seeds, legumes, whole grains, as well as vegetables. And lastly, the other thing I'm going to suggest that you try to include is try to go for organic or farm shop products, or even better is self-grown products. And one of the main reasons for this is you're going to get less of the bad pesticides in the food, which has been associated with less gut bacteria, less good gut bacteria, although the research on this is a little limited. However, it doesn't look likely that it's going to be a great thing, so I would suggest try to go for organic. It's going to give you the better health outcomes most likely. But what you can also do is when you get your food, before you eat it, is to wash it. But what wash it with baking soda, because interestingly that has been shown to actually more effectively get rid of the pesticides. One of the things I would do if I can is actually peel whatever I'm having. So whether it's an apple or carrot, if you take off that outer layer, you're going to get rid of a lot of the pesticides. Unfortunately, a lot of the fruit and veg that we get from our supermarkets have been shown to have quite a lot of pesticides. Now, some have more than others. You just want to do as much as you can to reduce it, because it's generally going to be healthier. Now, if you're really interested in enhancing your gut even further, as I mentioned, sauerkraut is such a beneficial food to eat, but it has way more benefits than the ones that I've just gone through. So I would highly suggest that you check out my video that I've done on sauerkraut. That's going to pop up in just a second just here, but just before I go through that, don't forget you can get 10% on Vivo Barefoot Minimalist shoes that I personally wear every single day. You can get 10% of Athanates, which is a superfood specifically formulated for men, and 15% of Futher, which is a natural deodorant that doesn't have any of the harmful chemicals that traditional deodorants have. I'll see you either on this video or my next. Thanks for watching.